Alright guys, winter's coming and I was just prepping my board and I needed to do a little maintenance on it. I got a pretty bad core shot on the bottom that needs to be fixed, and this is a pretty crappy board, so I don't want to get it base welded because it's way too expensive. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it for about 10 bucks, and it works really well, surprisingly well. So before you tell me this is BS and it doesn't work, let me just show you what's going on. Alright, so I bought this board off a kid 2 full seasons ago. This will be the third. And you can see here that he ran over some rocks or something and really screwed up the bottom of the board. It was down to the core pretty much all the way through. You can see it here. Right there, right there where the plastic just started peeling up. And it was down to the core just like this. You can see the fiberglass. I patched it with this fix and it's lasted me 2 full seasons with no problems at all. No peeling, it hasn't popped out. This is a new hole. This is just one I didn't really fix the first time. The plastic was kind of flapping up, but I just said forget about it. I'll do it when it comes out. So that didn't pop out. But I'll show you how to fix this one today. So just grab all the stuff you're going to need before you start. You need the epoxy. This is Loctite plastic epoxy from Home Depot. It's like $6. Just make sure it's plastic epoxy and not metal or something like that. You're going to need a p-tex stick. Get them at any ski shop. They come in all different colors. Something to mix the epoxy with. A cheese grater for the p-tex. Just using an old one that the handle broke off. An X-Acto knife. And some clamps. So you probably can see what we're going to be doing here. Basically, we're just going to take epoxy, stick it in the hole, put some p-tex over it, and it holds really well. And that way you're also able to wax it, no problem. It holds wax. So first thing you're going to want to do is just clean up the edge a little bit. You want a bevel, a slight bevel. So I'm just going to take the X-Acto and just shave ever so slightly off the side. Honestly, it's probably not going to matter if you do this or not, but this is how I did the first one. So I'm sticking to it because it held in there for 2 years so far, and doesn't seem like it's going to break anytime soon. Now, also just test the edges. Just make sure I'm in frame. Test the edges. You want to poke down on them. And if you could see movement in between the p-tex layer and the core, the fiberglass core, you're going to want to shave a little bit more back because you don't want that sponginess in there. That means that there's an air pocket in between the p-tex and the core, and moisture can get in there. So I'm just going to trim this back a little bit more and I'll be right back. Alright, so this is trimmed back. It's not very much at all. You might not even be able to notice it, but just enough so that that air pocket isn't there, because you don't want that. While you got the X-Acto knife, just score the fiberglass or wood or whatever your core is made of. Again, it probably won't matter, but this is how I did the first one, and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so after the board is prepped, I'm just going to grate up some p-tex. Again, this grater might be a little bit small, but we're going to see how it is. See how we're doing. That's actually not too bad. That's kind of what you want right there. I don't know if you could see it too well, but they're pretty decent sized pieces. There's my finger next to them. Just, you don't want like a fine powder. You want something to get into the epoxy and, not pull out of it. So, I will be right back after I get a little pile of stuff. Alright guys, it's been a few minutes here. I got myself a little pile. You probably don't need this much. I just like to go a little extra because the last thing I want is to run out while the epoxy's setting. You'd be in pretty bad shape then. You may have to rip it out or something. So I just give myself a little bit of extra. So it's time to mix the epoxy and actually get this done. Alright guys, so we're ready for the epoxy. One thing I forgot, grab a pair of scissors, just because you got to open the epoxy. I'm using these sheet metal snippers because they are what I had in my basement. Let's pop the cap out too, just so we could put that on. Oh, wrong way. Alright. Alright, so all you got to do with this epoxy, squeeze it out evenly. You want even amounts of both pieces, both parts, just like that. And then you just stir it up. Make sure it's stirred well, because, you know, this is what is going to be holding your board together. Smells real nice too. Alright, so we've got our core shot there. I'm just going to scoop this up, stick it in the hole. Don't worry too much if it gets on the outside. You can sand this down later around where you did it. If any leaks, because it will be pretty sloppy at first once you get all the p-tex in there. And we'll make it pretty later. Right now we just want to get as much p-tex and as much epoxy in there as possible to hold it together. Alright, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to grab my plate and literally just sprinkle it in there. Be generous, because you could always take it off. You can't add it once it's hardened. Make sure there's no shiny spots where the epoxy is still showing. And I'm glad I made as much as I did, because I could really just dump it on and not worry about it. Alright, I think we are good to clamp it and let it set. I believe it's 24 hours. Just wait the next day. Alright, so the reason I told you guys to make a little bit of extra p-tex shavings is because I'm just going to take a piece of wood here and smack it on top and take some clamps, put them on either side. If you didn't have all the extra p-tex and there was still some epoxy showing or whatever, you know, that would just stick to the wood, and you'd probably work out alright, but, you know, why do it? Just make some extra. I'm going to stick that on there, and I'm going to use the giant oversized clamps. Honestly, you probably don't have to clamp it either. Again, this is what I did the first time, but, I mean, clamping it isn't going to help the epoxy set any better. To me, it's just extra security. Like, you know the p-tex is really seated in that epoxy nice, so that's me. If you don't have clamps, honestly, don't worry about it. It's probably not going to make too much of a difference. Alright guys, it's the next day here. Hasn't been a full 24 hours, but it should be fine to do. We're going to take the clamps off and see what it looks like. Alright, so you can see after I just scrape back the excess, all of that is actually stuck in the board, so that actually came out really good. All we got to do is make it flush with the bottom of the board, scrape it away, and we should be in really good shape. Alright, so I've just got one of these razors here. This one's a lot nicer just because you can get it totally flat on the surface. And I'm just gonna start scraping it clean, which is coming up real easy. That's actually never happened where it pulls out. I'm gonna see if it'll be alright with just adding a little bit of p-tex over that. I don't know if you could see it, but the epoxy layer is actually still there. Just the flakes fell out, so it will be watertight at least. Alright, so now I'm just going to melt some p-tex in to kind of fill in any gaps that remain. Not many, it's pretty good, but just heat it up. You want to heat it up until it holds a flame if you're not sure how to use p-tex. There we go. Alright, so here we go. It's holding a flame and you basically just let it drip. Guys, I went ahead and gave the whole slice that was in the board just another layer of p-tex. I do it every year just to fill in the hole because it does come out after a while. I filled in that piece that came out. Wasn't too bad. I'm going to see how it is. Might need to add a bit more epoxy. It's never actually happened before, but oh well. So I'm just going to scrape this off now and see how we did. This is where we just repaired. You can't see it anymore really because of the p-tex that's over it now. But it looks pretty good. I think this is going to work great. I'm just going to take some sandpaper and go over all the p-tex that I just added just to smooth it out a little bit because it will be bumpy just based on the nature of this repair. But we should be good to give it a wax after this and try it out. Alright guys, I sanded the whole board down. And I also just brought this down on the floor and did a quick flex test. I put my shoes in the bindings and just flexed it as far as I could either way and also torqued the board long ways just to make sure nothing would pop out. Nothing came out. The repair looks really good and I think this should be fine. I'm going to wax it up, show you the result. Alright everybody, the board's been waxed up. And here is the repair that we just did. This one was the one that was there, this is the one we just did. This one actually turned out a lot better. And the wax made this whole strip a lot smoother, so I think this board will be alright this season. Hopefully nothing else will pop out. There's one starting here actually, where the plastic is peeling up, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching guys.